Hello, my name is Stephanie Bukuhi. Today I'm going to talk about dead and extinct languages. So first, what is a dead language? Well, a dead language is defined as a language that some people still use, even if there are non-native speakers left. A dead language refers to a language that is no longer the native language of any community, but is still used for some people in different purposes. So a characteristic of a language to become dead language first is that they need to have a process where the original language becomes replaced by another language, where first words of the dominant language become replaced the words of the original language. Then a syntactic structure of the original language is simplified, and some elements of the grammar disappear until one day just fragments of the original language remain, and the dominant language is the one that is the more of people use. So here we have an example of that. The ancient Greek now is different from the modern Greek that is used in Greece. So here we have a fragment of the Old Greek, ancient Greek, and the modern Greek. Even though they share still some similitudes, there are differences that become two different languages. The first one is the ancient Greek distinguish between long and short vowels, where now modern Greek does not, which means the way they are speak now is very different to the ancient Greek. Another thing is that now modern Greek adopt vocabulary from other languages like Ottoman Turkish, Venetian, Spanish, Turkish, Italian, and English, and they adapt this vocabulary to use in their language. So here we have examples of what are dead languages. We have three examples that are Latin, Coptic, and Biblical Hebrew. These three languages are dead because they are no native speakers of these languages, but they are still used for different purposes. In this case, the three of these languages are used for religious purposes in different parts of the world. The first one, the Latin, is the official language of the Vatican City, which means it's used for the religious purposes. The second one, the Coptic, is an Egyptian language that today is spoken only liturgically. And the third one is the Biblical Hebrew. This language is based on biblical language and is still used for some religious purposes more than other things. The Latin is the best known dead language because some terms that came from Latin are still in use for different purposes in the academic field, in the medical field, and the law field, like the habeas corpus, that is a Latin term that is still in use nowadays. So now let's talk about extinct language. An extinct language is a language that is no longer exists because there are no speaker or users. So this is pretty different to the other language, where even if they are not native speakers, they still use for different purposes. But an extinct languages doesn't have speakers or users nowadays. So a language becomes extinct when the last living speakers die. And there are two ways for a language to become extinct. The first one is to change into something else. So here we have the example of the Proto-Indo-European languages, where there are no more speakers of these languages, but this language evolved and become the different language that today are speak around the world. So this language disappeared, but their descendants are the language that we spoke nowadays. So this language changed into something else, and the original speakers disappears with the language too. So another way is to leave only a small trace that it once exists. Similar to the Proto-Indo-European language, there are no surviving speakers, and also there are just a few surviving fragments of that language exists, but the rest is lost forever. So we don't have enough information to study that language more deep. So the reason that we don't have enough information is because there are not direct descendants, and this could happen because two things: because of genocide or because of ethnocide. So if there are a genocide, is when a dominant group of people kill or exterminate an ethnic group of people from their native place. To be more clear, we have here an example that is the Tasmanian Aborigines. They inhabit an island in Australia, but when the British tried to conquer these islands, they were exterminated, they were killed all. So when these tribes were exterminated, the language also died with them. And it's the same for the different places where colonizers destroy or kill a complete group or from their native places. The second one is, like I mentioned, ethnocide. So ethnocide is when foreign invaders impose a state language on conquered territories and force residents to stop using their native tongues. During the colonization of all America, the colonial power imposed its language on the natives. Here in South America, Spanish imposed Spanish to the Native Americans. In the North America, they imposed English. Here we have an example that in Canada and USA, they send the Native Americans to boarding schools where they were teach speak in English, and they were forbidden to use their native tongue because if they do that, they were punished or even killed. So here we have an example how a language become extinct. The first one is the Native American language Layam, which became extinct in 2014 after the last speaker died. When Hazel Sampson, the last speaker, passed away, their language also died with her. And the second example, we have the Yamana language of the Yangan community. This was a language of the native from Chile. When Cristina Calderon died in 2002, the language also disappeared. Even if she left a dictionary of words from the native language translated to Spanish, there are still a few information to recover or to study this language, which means the Yamana language also become an extinct language. So when a language disappears, also disappear their culture, their habits, and different things. We need to remember that language is a symbol system that enables cultural behavior. This is because most native language are only in the spoken way. They are not in the writing way. So most indigenous cultures transmit their knowledge in oral form. So if these languages are lost, we lost also valuable information like preparation of medicine, hunting and farming methods. We lost the way that these people see the world. We lost a lot of their rituals too. So here, if a language is become dead first, there are not enough participants to certain rituals that are conducted in their native tongue, so cultural traditions are lost. Also, it can lead to a breakdown of social ties, as language often binds people together to share experience. If the younger generation doesn't speak that language anymore, they are a break between older generation and younger generation, so they cannot share experience, stories about their culture, so they lose that roots connect to their culture. And also, we lost knowledge about our planet, like I mentioned. Uh, they transmit the knowledge through the original tongue. We lost information about local ecosystems, their biodiversity, the way they take care of their world or the environment are lost. And like I mentioned, kids also have that consequence that they are not more connected to the culture and rituals start disappearing. So that's all. Thank you.